Merry Crimbo! The pirates are in charge this year and they've led us to the Holiday Islands. We need to fight off other holidays so that Crimbo can survive. First, let's explore Crimbo Island. Visit Abuela's bungalow to get the scoop from Sammy, Tammy's older sister. Sammy introduces each holiday island and its accompanying boss through to the heartwarming conclusion for this year's Crimbo. The Crimbo Cafe offers epic food for sale in exchange for matching holiday spirits. Note that all the food is perishable and will become less good in quality, buff granted, or both, once the Crimbo World event is done. The chocolate ostrich egg costing 15 spirits of Easter is an epic quality size 2 food that when eaten grants 40 adventures of the effect Resurrection of the Flesh for an additional 25 to maximum hit points and regenerates between 10 and 30 hit points per adventure. Candied beef and cabbage, costing 15 spirits of St. Patrick's Day, is an epic quality size 2 food that when eaten grants 40 adventures of the effect Green Blooded for an additional 25 to maximum mana points and regenerates between 5 and 15 mana points per adventure. Candy rations costing 15 spirits of Veterans Day is an epic quality size 2 food that when eaten grants 40 adventures of the effect Steward of Duty for an additional 5 damage reduction and 20 weapon spell and ranged damage. Double candied yams costing 15 spirits of Thanksgiving is an epic quality size 2 food that when eaten grants 40 adventures of the effect Grateful, but spelled with a $sign, for an additional 50% meat from monsters. Christmas ham costing 15 spirits of Christmas is an epic quality size 2 food that when eaten grants 40 adventures of the effect Eyesies on the Pressies for an additional 25% item drops from monsters. Holiday Smorgasbord is an epic quality size 4 food that can only be eaten if your character is level 5 or above. Holiday Smorgasbord costs 15 of each holiday spirit and when eaten grants 40 adventures of all the cafe food buffs: Resurrection, Green Blooded, Steward, Grateful, and Eyesies. Note that none of the cafe food buffs are wishable. The Pirate Bar offers epic quality perishable booze in exchange for holiday spirits in an exact mirror of the cafe. Easter Grasshopper costs 15 spirits of Easter, is size 2, and grants 40 adventures of Resurrection of the Flesh. Irish Eggnog costs 15 spirits of St. Patrick's Day, is size 2, and grants 40 adventures of Green Blooded. Canteen of Jungle Juice costs 15 spirits of Veterans Day, is size 2, and grants 40 adventures of Steward of Duty. Turchucken costs 15 spirits of Thanksgiving, is size 2, and grants 40 adventures of Grateful but spelled with a $sign. Mechanically Muled Cider costs 15 spirits of Christmas, is size 2, and grants 40 adventures of Eyesies on the Pressies. Holiday Trip Around the World costs 15 of each holiday spirit, is size 4, and when drunk grants 40 adventures of all the Pirate Bar buffs: Resurrection, Green Blooded, Steward, Grateful, and Eyesies. High quality food and drink helps speedrunners set new records at the end of the year for Crimbo and helps everyone else enjoy more adventures to explore the world event. The Toy Factory has many fine wares for sale at the cost of holiday spirits. The Lucky Moai statue costs 50 each of Easter and St. Patrick's spirits and can be used up to provide 3 11-leaf clovers, which themselves can be used up to get the Lucky Intrinsic. The Lucky Moai statue costs a lot of spirits for an item that is one and done, but will still be popular as a way to get extra clovers and normal ascensions. The Egg Gun costing 200 each of Easter and Veterans Day spirits is a one-handed pistol ranged weapon with between 20 and 40 damage, minimum 40 Moxie to equip, cannot be discarded, so it can't be stolen in PvP, and adds 25 stench damage, 5 to familiar weight, 75% to food drops, regenerates between 15 and 20 hit points per adventure, and gives the once per fight combat skill Egg the Face to de-level your opponent by 25%. The most similar alternative to the Egg Gun is a one-handed pistol Love from That 70s Volcano, though the Egg Gun does more damage, has more enchantments, and grants a combat skill. The Lucky Army Helmet costing 350 Easter spirits and 75 Veterans Day spirits is a power 200 hat, minimum 4 muscle to equip, cannot be discarded, and adds 10 damage absorption, 100 to maximum hit points, so-so resistance to all elements, +2, and never fumble. The useful combination of enchantments paired with low stat requirement to wear may make the Lucky Army Helmet a good pull from Hanks in a normal ascension. The Candy Egg Deviler costs 200 Easter spirits and 125 Thanksgiving spirits and can be used 3 times per day to turn any candy into a deviled candy egg, a potion that gives 10 adventures of the effect Candy Devil for an additional 5 pounds of familiar weight, 5 familiar experience per combat, and 25 monster level. It will also let you turn a deviled candy egg into a deviled candy egg, which wastes one of your 3 daily uses. The natural comparison is to the old expensive Crimbo skill Sweet Synthesis, which can combine 2 candies to get strong, tunable 30 adventure effects at the cost of 1 spleen each. Deviled candy eggs are better in the sense that they do not cost spleen, and both the Candy Egg Deviler and Deviled Candy Egg are tradable, but worse in the 3 per day limit 10 adventure duration, and hard-coded, though quite good, effect. Since otherwise useless candy tends to pile up in inventories, I expect the candy egg devilers will be popular for years to come as a way to turn candy into useful potions. The lucky napkin costing 50 St. Patrick's Day spirits and 25 Thanksgiving spirits can be used up to grant extra stats to your next food. Similar to the Lucky Moai statue, the relatively high cost for the one-and-done lucky napkin will be worthwhile for those trying to level up fast in normal ascensions. The Thanksgiving ration costing 25 Veterans Day spirits and 50 Thanksgiving spirits is a size 3 epic food with a minimum level requirement of 5. Thanksgiving ration costs the same number of spirits, though different types, as a slightly larger holiday smorgasbord with beneficial effects. But, unlike the holiday smorgasbord, the Thanksgiving ration will not deteriorate once Crimbo is over. The booze analog to the Thanksgiving ration is Easter eggnog, costing 50 Easter spirits and 25 Christmas spirits. Clover mint, costing 50 St. Patrick's Day spirits and 25 Christmas spirits, is a size 7 spleen consumable which grants the intrinsic Lucky. Clover mint is not as good as Astral Energy drinks, which also grant the Lucky intrinsic at the cost of 5 spleen, but Astral Energy drinks are quest items that must be purchased with Karma in Valhalla when ascending, so Clover mints are a durable, tradable alternative. Nylon Christmas stockings costing 200 Veterans Day spirits and 150 Christmas spirits are an accessory with a minimum 40 mysticality requirement to equip, cannot be discarded, and at most one can be worn at a time to add 75% combat initiative, 50% spell damage, 3 stats per combat, and lower the mana point cost of skills by 1. The combination of effects makes it a good choice for doing extra combat damage as a mysticality class. Tattoo of 2 turkeys costing 300 Thanksgiving spirits and 300 Christmas spirits grants a unique tattoo when used. The final 5 items at the Toy Factory are all reusable skill books which can be purchased with 500 of the appropriate holiday spirits. While the skills are not automatically permed, the skill books become untradeable used copies which can grant the skill over and over again across ascensions if necessary. Secrets of the Master Egg Hunters teaches the passive skill Master Egg Hunter for an extra 10% item drops. Passive extra item drops are always useful since there is no cost to maintain them over time. How to Lose Friends and Attract Snakes teaches the non-combat skill Attract Snakes to make monsters more attracted to you, plus 5% for 10 adventures at the cost of 50 mana points. Covert Ops for Kids teaches the non-combat skill Hide from Seekers to make monsters less attracted to you, negative 5%, for 10 adventures at the cost of 50 mana points. While increasing and decreasing monster encounters is useful both during an ascension and after defeating the naughty sorceress, the high cost in mana points and limited duration may make other skills, equipment, familiars, or potions a better choice. Holiday Multitasking teaches the passive skill Holiday Multitasking to craft 3 items per day at no adventure cost. This is similar to last Crimbo skills Elfguard Cooking and Old School Cocktail Crafting, though more general purpose. Lastly, Hoyle's Guide to Reindeer Games teaches the passive skill Reindeer Games for an extra 30% combat initiative. Reindeer Games will help you get the jump on more monsters without any cost to maintain the bonus over time. All 5 skills will remain in standard for the next 2 years. Now that you know all the cool things you can buy, how do you get these holiday spirits anyway? Take the boat to the Holiday Islands to find 5 new zones which are only available during this Crimbo. Each monster drops 1 of their island's holiday spirit per fight. You can use a tradable 4-leaf potato sprout potion dropped by St. Patrick's Island monsters Giant Potato and Giant Potato Snake to get 30 adventures of the effect Luck of St. Patrick, which occasionally doubles holiday spirit drops. Each island also has a non-combat with the option to get more holiday spirits depending on your resistance to that island's element. 40 elemental resistance nets the maximum of 11 holiday spirits, going down as your elemental resistance is lower. You can force non-combats and increase your chance of non-combats to get the batch of holiday spirits more often. Easter Island is stench aligned, and its non-combat occurs by default every 10 adventures. St. Patrick's Day Island is sleaze aligned, and its non-combat occurs by default every 11 adventures. Veterans Day Island is hot aligned, and its non-combat occurs by default every 12 adventures. Thanksgiving Island is cold aligned, and its non-combat occurs by default every 13 adventures. Christmas Island is spooky aligned, and its non-combat occurs by default every 14 adventures. Veterans Day Island's non-combat has an option to use up a Brandonian footlocker key dropped by a monster on the island to get between 300 and 500 meat, and if you have December's Mr. Store Item of the Month Taker Space, a random Taker Space ingredient. By far the better option is to get Spirits of Veterans Day so as to purchase more goodies before the Crimbo shops disappear. Each island's non-combat also allows you to fight a holiday boss once per player. The Easter Island Bunny only takes 3 damage from any given source, so load up on prismatic attacks, effects, and use an attacking familiar. St. Patrick blocks skills and hits hard, so use combat items or weapon attacks with lots of damage so you win in 1 or 2 rounds. On Veterans Day Island, you first fight some underbrush, do no damage, and you'll win in 1 round, then Colonel Brando for a standard fight. Jedediah on Thanksgiving Island caps damage similarly to the Easter Island Bunny, so you can use the same approach. Win against Jedediah and you'll fight a boiling cloud, which can only be hurt by cold elemental damage. Any cold-aligned spell, weapon, or combat item will help you win. Last but not least, you have a standard fight with Santa Claus. Once you win, you'll receive the untradeable Bowl of Infinite Jelly, which gives the effect Jelly-Coated Insides to add stats to each combat, and a percentage increase to Muscle, Mysticality, and Moxie for the first food you eat each day. You can closet the Bowl of Infinite Jelly if for some reason you don't want the effect when you eat. Jelly-Coated Insides scales its effect to the number of adventures granted by the food, so larger and higher quality foods will grant the best effect. A dieting pill can be used to double the size of the food, and therefore the Jelly-Coated Insides effect as well. Make sure to fight Santa Claus and get the Bowl of Infinite Jelly before Crimbo is over. Each island has a unique set of monsters with their own drops. Most of the usual tricks for getting more of a monster, such as Transcendent Olfaction or Mr. Store's Monster Habitat skill, or less of a monster, banishes such as Tennis Balls or Mr. Store's Spring Shoes, don't work on the island. You can, however, use a Pocket Wish to fight a monster from one of the holiday islands outside its native environment, which allows you to use copy skills such as Be Gregarious or combat items such as the print screen button. Why might you want to fight more of a specific monster? Because one and only one monster on each island has a valuable rare drop. Each rare item drops on average every 1,000 fights with that monster, so on Thanksgiving Island, where there are 4 monsters, you would need to spend on average 4,000 adventures if you skip the non-combat every time, which I don't recommend. Thankfully, the monsters are copyable, so folks can continue to roll the dice on rare drops even once the Crimbo World event is over. Remember that rare item drop rates are unaffected by item drop chance, so no need for an expensive diet or potions when hunting rare items, though they do help with normal item drops on the holiday islands. Easter Island has 3 monsters. Chocolate Chicken drops the perishable potion Dark Chocolate Egg, which gives 20 adventures of the effect Herder, Bitter, Fester, Stranger for an additional 5 familiar weight, 10 monster level, and 15 each stench and sleaze damage until Crimbo is over. Feral Bunny drops Coney Haunch, a perishable size 1 awesome quality food until Crimbo is over. Moai drops Moai Toi, a perishable size 1 awesome quality booze until Crimbo is over. And Rarely can drop the Moai Ball, an offhand item with a minimum requirement of 35 mysticality to equip that adds 25% to muscle, 10% to item drops, and 50% to combat initiative. Moai Ball has the second best combat initiative in the game for offhand equipment after the card sleeve at 60%. St. Patrick's Day Island has 3 monsters. Giant Snake drops the combat item Half-Digested Rat, which can be used for between 9 and 14 stench damage per round of combat. The Half-Digested Rat also stuns St. Patrick for multiple rounds if you have trouble with that boss fight. Giant Potato Snake drops the Half-Digested Rat and the potion 4-leaf Potato Sprout mentioned earlier for its Luck of St. Patrick effect to occasionally make Holiday Island monsters drop an extra holiday spirit. Giant Potato drops the 4-leaf Potato Sprout and rarely can drop the Potato Jacket, a power 150 shirt with a minimum requirement of 40 muscle to equip that adds 20 hot damage, serious cold resistance, +3, and 15% meat from monsters. 20 hot damage is the best hot damage in the game for a shirt. Veterans Day Island has 3 monsters. Brandonian Loyalist drops the Brandonian footlocker key, which can be used during the Veterans Day Island non-combat in lieu of receiving holiday spirits. Spectre of War drops the combat item Traumatic Holiday Memory, which can be used on any holiday island to win the fight and force all non-rare items to drop. Section 11 is the toughest fight with 100% elemental resistance. Use a strong weapon attack like Lunging Thrust Smack instead of spells, unless you have the old Crimbo combat skill Silent Treatment to remove the elemental resistance. Section 11 drops the Military Orb, an offhand item that adds 15 mysticality, regenerates between 10 and 15 mana points per adventure, and grants the combat skill Throw Military Orb, a yellow ray that forces all non-rare items to drop, gives 49 adventures of Everything Looks Yellow on success, and 5 adventures if the monster cannot be yellow rayed, and uses up the Military Orb. The Military Orb will continue to be useful since the Yellow Ray has a relatively short cooldown and no other usage requirements such as owning a Mr. Store item or gathering familiar experience. Section 11 can also rarely drop the Congressional Medal of Insanity, an accessory that adds 25% to mysticality, 50% to spell damage, regenerates between 8 and 12 mana points per adventure, and also mirrors spell damage in 3 randomly chosen elements. If one of the elements chosen is the original element of the spell, there will only be 2 elemental mirrors. Elemental damage mirroring of this nature is typically called being a lantern after the original Mr. Store Rainbow Green Lantern, which mirrored spell damage in the stench element. All other lanterns in the game operate only in 1 element, not 3, making the Congressional Medal of Insanity uniquely strong and trivializing any fights where you cast damage spells. Thanksgiving Island has 4 monsters. Gravy Slime drops Gravy Skin, which can be armor crafted into 4 different equipment items. The offhand shield Gravy Skin Buckler can be crafted with a Buckler Buckle, has a minimum requirement of 30 muscle to equip, reduces damage by 7, and adds 11 each to sleaze damage and spells. The Power 90 Gravy Skin Hat can be crafted with a basic meat helmet, has a minimum requirement of 30 moxie to equip, and adds 11 each to sleaze damage and spells. The Power 90 Gravy Skin Pants can be crafted with a pants kit, has a minimum requirement of 30 moxie to equip, and adds 11 each to sleaze damage and spells. Finally, the Power 90 Gravy Skin Skirt can be crafted with a skirt kilt kit, has a minimum requirement of 30 moxie to equip, and adds 11 each to sleaze damage and spells. The Possessed Can of Cream of Mushroom Soup and Possessed Can of Green Beans have no drops of their own, but if you overkill one after the other, you get a room-scale green bean casserole, a perishable size 11 awesome quality food that will deteriorate after Crimbo is over. Overkill is exactly how it sounds. You defeat the monster by a wide margin. Finally, the Pumpkin Spice Wraith drops Crystallized Pumpkin Spice, a potion that can only be used in autumn to grant 50 adventures of the effect Spiced Out for an additional 200% each of Muscle, Mysticality, and Moxie, 50% Combat Initiative, 25% item drops from monsters, 10 stats per fight, and 5 pounds of familiar weight. Wow! The Pumpkin Spice Wraith can also rarely drop the Pumpkin Spice Whirl, an item that can be used once to permanently add 3 levels to the Spice Ghost Pastamancer Pasta Thrall. After you use the Pumpkin Spice Whirl, anytime you summon a Spice Ghost Pasta Thrall, it will start at level 4 and cap at level 13, instead of the typical starting at level 1 and capping at level 10. Since spices start dropping at level 5, starting at level 4 will give you a great head start. Last but not least, Christmas Island has 3 monsters. Christmas Treant drops the combat item Fragile Christmas Ornament, which, when used, causes increasing damage each round of combat. This makes the Fragile Christmas Ornament a great pick for longer fights. The Self-Driving Sleigh drops the potion Lidar Candle, which gives 30 adventures of the effect Lidard to occasionally prevent enemy attacks. The Magically Animated Snowman drops Ragged Wool Yarn. Once you have at least 50 ragged wool yarns in inventory, use them to make the accessory Perfect Christmas Scarf, which, when worn only in December, grants 9 adventures if worn during rollover, stunning cold resistance +7, and regenerates between 4 and 6 hit and mana points per adventure. The Perfect Christmas Scarf will not add any benefit if worn other months of the year. The Magically Animated Snowman can also rarely drop the Power 150 Snowman Enchanting Top Hat with a minimum Moxie requirement of 35 to equip, which adds 25% to Moxie, 50% to spell damage, and grants the combat skill Place Your Hat on Their Head, which can be used 3 times per day to transform your opponent into a magically animated snowman. The skill is great for burning delay in a normal ascension and will help the kingdom continue to generate new Snowman Enchanting Top Hats for years to come. I hope this helps you get the most from the limited time Crimbo World event.